Did you know that billions of mysterious black organisms thrive inside frozen Mount Rainier glaciers, yet dissolve into goo the moment temperatures warm slightly? Or that deep within North America's quietest forest sanctuary, a single square inch of mossy ground absorbs sound so completely you hear blood rushing through your own ears? And that since 2007, dozens of severed human feet still wearing running shoes have washed ashore on Washington beaches, leaving forensic scientists baffled? Most people think Washington means only rain in Seattle, until they discover the deeply unsettling mysteries hidden across this state. Prepare yourself, because we're counting down 35 facts so bizarre that even lifelong residents won't believe what's been happening here all along. Fact 35. The bubbling earth of Olympia. Deep within the Puget Lowlands, thousands of perfectly symmetrical earthen mounds stretch across the landscape like a green, unearthly sea. Geologists have spent decades arguing over the origin of the Mima mounds, blaming everything from ancient pocket gophers to violent prehistoric earthquakes. None of the explanations fully satisfy the strange mathematical precision of these formations. They remain an unexplained layout, a massive geometric puzzle etched into the soil of the evergreen state, mocking our desire to categorize and understand every corner of the natural world. Fact 34. The Sanctuary of Absolute Silence. In the heart of the Hoh rainforest, there is a single square inch of space defended by acoustic advocates against all human noise. This specific patch of mossy ground represents the quietest place in North America, where the natural acoustics absorb sound waves completely. Have you ever stood in a place so silent that you could hear the blood rushing through your own ears? Aircraft crossing this zone cause ripples of acoustic disruption, forcing researchers to constantly battle to keep this fragile, silent pocket from vanishing forever. Fact 33. The black creatures of the ice. High on the freezing slopes of Mount Rainier, billions of mysterious black organisms spend their entire lives trapped inside solid glacial ice. These are ice worms, creatures that defy standard biological logic by thriving in temperatures that should freeze animal cells solid. If the sun warms them even slightly, their bodies liquefy, and they dissolve into dark pools of goo. They come to the surface only at dusk, covering the white snow like a moving carpet of dark threads, operating on a biological clock we still do not understand. Fact 32. The glowing tumbleweeds of Hanford. In the arid eastern desert, the Hanford site holds the radioactive remnants of the atomic age, where workers manufactured plutonium for wartime weapons. Today, an unexpected consequence roams the landscape. Plants with deep roots absorb radioactive isotopes from contaminated groundwater, break free, and blow across public highways. Security teams must actively hunt these rolling weeds with radiation detectors before they spread nuclear waste into neighboring towns. It is a modern haunting, where the ghosts of the 20th century take the form of dry desert vegetation moving silently through the night. Fact 31. The century-old giants of the mud. Buried deep within the muddy floors of Puget Sound lives a creature that resembles something from a prehistoric nightmare. The geoduck is a massive burrowing clam that can weigh over 10 pounds and possess a siphon stretching several feet in length. Does it surprise you to learn that these bizarre beings can live for more than 140 years, outlasting generations of humans? They remain hidden in the dark silt, pumping water and silently witnessing the entire history of modern civilization unfold above their marine hideouts. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe if you want to stay up to date with the weirdest things happening in the US right now. Fact 30. The acoustic nightmare of West Seattle. For months, a mysterious low-frequency hum vibrated through the coastal homes of West Seattle, driving residents mad. People described a mechanical drone that vibrated walls, yet city officials found no structural cause. The source was eventually traced to an unexpected biological ritual. Male midshipman fish produce a deep, droning chant to attract mates, amplifying their voices against boat hulls until the sound resonates through rock. It turns out the city was not haunted by secret machines, but by the desperate songs of marine life. Fact 29. The glacier that defies global warming. Inside the shattered, hollowed caldera of Mount St. Helens, a massive geological anomaly is quietly unfolding. While glaciers across the planet are rapidly melting away, Crater Glacier is actively expanding. Sheltered from direct sunlight by the towering volcanic walls, and insulated by a thick layer of dark volcanic rock, this river of ice grows larger every single year. It wraps around the volcano's cooling lava dome, surviving inside the throat of an active beast, proving that nature retains the power to completely reverse expected trends when we least expect it. Fact 28. The dark trench of Lake Chelan. Plunging deep into the Central Cascade Mountains lies a body of water so deep that its bottom drops far below the level of the Pacific Ocean. Lake Chelan is a massive glacial trough holding secrets within its freezing absolute darkness. Would you dare to plunge into a watery abyss that reaches a depth of nearly 1,500 feet? Local legends speak of creatures hidden in the deep trenches, but the true mystery is the sheer scale of this inland chasm, carved by ice and holding more water than anyone can fathom. Fact 27. The floating highway of Lake Washington. Because the muddy bottom of Lake Washington is too soft to support traditional bridge pillars, engineers had to think completely outside the box. They built massive concrete pontoons, creating the longest floating bridges on Earth to carry thousands of vehicles daily over the deep waters. These structures do not rest on solid Earth. Instead, they float dynamically, anchored by giant cables to the lake floor. Driving across feels ordinary, but you are actually riding on a technological marvel that sways subtly with the deep currents beneath your tires. Fact 26. The ghostly standing sentinels of Copalis. Along the coast of the Copalis River, a haunting forest of dead western red cedar trees stands frozen in a tidal marsh. This ghost forest was created in a single night in the year 1700, when a massive earthquake along the Cascadia subduction zone caused the coastline to suddenly drop several feet. Seawater rushed inward, instantly drowning the roots in salt. These gray, weathered trunks remain standing 3 centuries later, serving as a silent, visible warning of the catastrophic seismic power slumbering just off the Pacific coastline. Fact 25. The subterranean furnaces of Sherman Crater. High on Mount Baker, a volcanic peak wrapped in massive glaciers, lies a hidden world of extreme heat. Inside Sherman Crater, a network of deep fumaroles constantly vents toxic gases and boiling steam from the Earth's core. Does it unnerve you to know that this active volcanic furnace sits beneath hundreds of feet of permanent ice, carving out secret thermal caverns that humans rarely explore? The contrast between absolute sub-zero ice and boiling volcanic energy creates a volatile landscape that could erupt into chaos with very little warning. Fact 24. The Sitka spruce that defies gravity. Along the rugged coast of the Olympic National Park, a giant Sitka spruce tree performs an impossible balancing act. The ground beneath its trunk washed away decades ago, leaving the root system completely exposed over a deep canyon. It clings to life by holding on to 2 crumbling sandstone cliffs, suspended entirely in midair. Have you ever seen a living colossus survive without soil? This miraculous organism continues to sprout green needles every spring, drinking moisture directly from the ocean fog while defying gravitational laws. Fact 23. Lake Washington's frozen forest of ghosts. Deep within the chilly waters of Lake Washington, an eerie underwater graveyard holds a forest that died centuries ago. Entire Douglas fir trees stand perfectly upright on the dark lake floor, preserved by the near-freezing temperature and low oxygen levels. These ancient giants were submerged when a massive earthquake triggered colossal landslides, sending large blocks of land sliding into the deep lake. Today, they pose a hidden hazard to deep divers, remaining frozen in time as a silent testament to ancient tectonic violence. Fact 22. The boulder that traveled hundreds of miles. On a scenic hillside on Whidbey Island sits a geological outcast that mystifies visitors. The Waterman erratic is a massive greenstone boulder weighing several hundred tons, completely distinct from any surrounding rock formations. It was transported hundreds of miles from Canada by a colossal continental ice sheet during the last ice age. When the thick ice finally melted, it dropped this solitary giant in the middle of a forest. It serves as a physical reminder of a frozen world that once crushed this landscape under miles of ice. Fact 21. 2 miles of darkness beneath the mountain. Beneath the southern shadow of Mount St. Helens lies the longest continuous lava tube in the continental United States. Ape Cave stretches for over 2 miles through absolute darkness, carved by ancient flowing basalt. Inside this basalt tunnel, The temperature remains a chilly 42 degrees Fahrenheit throughout the year, even during intense summer heat waves. Does the idea of walking through a subterranean corridor created by a molten river excite your sense of adventure? Cold air constantly drains downward through the tube, creating an eerie, whistling breeze. Fact 20. When snow became a killer. Near the high mountain pass of the Cascades, a tragic monument to winter fury remains buried in the brush. In 1910, a massive avalanche struck two stranded trains at the small town of Wellington, pushing them into a deep canyon. It remains the deadliest avalanche disaster in the history of the country, claiming 96 lives. Today, hikers on the Iron Goat Trail walk through concrete snowsheds and empty tunnels, feeling the heavy stillness of a place permanently altered by the raw power of snow. Fact 19. The waterfall that vanished. In the sun-baked coulees of eastern Washington stands a sheer cliff 3.5 miles wide. Dry Falls is a massive geological remnant that once channeled the most formidable waterfall the world has ever seen. During the Missoula floods, water rushed over this precipice at 10 times the combined flow of every river on Earth today. Now, it is completely dry, a silent basalt drop-off overlooking quiet desert lakes, reminding anyone who stands there how quickly an entire landscape can be reshaped by water. Fact 18. The room where silence screams. Inside a corporate campus in Redmond, engineers constructed a room that breaks the human mind with silence. Microsoft built an anechoic chamber so perfectly insulated that it holds the official world record for absolute quiet. The room absorbs 99.99% of all external sound waves. Would you believe that people can hear their own heartbeat and grinding bones inside this chamber? The absolute absence of sound becomes disorienting within minutes, showing that silence can become a heavy, suffocating force when completely isolated from nature. Fact 17. The island mountain that refused to sink. Rising abruptly above the rolling, wheat-covered hills of the Palouse region is a solitary mountain peak made of ancient pink quartzite. Steptoe Butte is a geological island that predates the surrounding landscape by hundreds of millions of years. When massive floods of volcanic basalt covered the region, they buried the old landscape but left this high peak exposed. It stands today as a stark monument to a forgotten continent, completely surrounded by a frozen sea of volcanic rock that tried and failed to swallow it whole. Fact 16. Atoms in the mud. Nuclear Washington. Deep within the heavy sediment layers of the Columbia River near the Hanford site lies a silent chemical footprint. Decades of early nuclear production released microscopic traces of radioactive isotopes into the water, where they eventually settled into the muddy riverbed. Environmental agencies closely monitor these hidden layers, ensuring they remain buried under fresh layers of silt. Are you aware that human industry has altered the very atomic signature of this historic waterway? The river appears pristine, but the deep mud holds a permanent record of the atomic age. Fact 15. The desert hidden. Inside the rainforest, nestled within the typically rain-drenched Olympic Peninsula, lies a small town that completely escapes the regional downpours. Sequim receives only about 16 inches of rainfall each year, making it as dry as Los Angeles. This occurs because the towering Olympic mountains create a massive rain shadow, forcing clouds to dump their moisture before reaching the town. The unique microclimate allows local farmers to cultivate vast fields of vibrant purple lavender, creating a Mediterranean oasis in a region famous for its soggy, dark evergreen forests. Fact 14. Blue caverns in the summer snow. At the base of Big Four Mountain, massive frozen caverns form at an incredibly low altitude where glaciers normally cannot survive. The Big Four ice caves are created by massive winter avalanches that pile deep snow into a mountain shadow. Because the cliff blocks sunlight, the snowpack remains frozen through hot summer months while melting streams hollow out beautiful blue tunnels underneath. Do you realize how dangerous these unstable, shifting ice ceilings can be for curious sightseers? Structural collapses happen without warning as temperatures rise. Fact 13. The lake that looks like bathwater. In the high desert of the Okanagan region lies a unique body of water that produces its own natural froth. Soap Lake holds an exceptionally high concentration of diverse minerals, giving the water a slick texture that easily whips into white suds along the rocky shoreline. The water is divided into distinct heavy layers that never mix, preserving unique microbial life in the dark depths. It remains a therapeutic destination where people bathe in mineral mud, marveling at a lake that looks and behaves like an oversized basin of liquid detergent. Fact 12. Seattle's buried city of secrets. Beneath the bustling sidewalks of modern Seattle lies a forgotten labyrinth of brick storefronts and hollow corridors. The Seattle Underground was created when the city rebuilt itself on top of old structures, after a catastrophic fire in 1889. For decades, these subterranean passages were abandoned to the dark, becoming a breeding ground for illicit operations and forgotten history. Do you wonder what secrets are buried directly beneath your feet as you walk through the city? This dark network remains a haunting time capsule of a wild frontier era. Fact 11. The lake where bodies never decay. Deep within the Olympic National Park, Lake Crescent holds a chilling reputation for its pristine, crystal-clear water. The lake contains almost no nitrogen, which severely limits the growth of algae and keeps the water exceptionally transparent. This unique chemical composition, combined with near-freezing temperatures at the bottom, creates a perfect environment for natural preservation. Bodies that sink into these depths do not decompose normally, instead, turning into a wax-like substance that remains completely intact for decades, hidden away in a deep mountain vault that never yields its prizes. Fact 10. The floating forest of fire and water. When Mount St. Helens erupted in 1980, a colossal landslide pushed thousands of mature trees into Spirit Lake. Today, nearly a half-century later, a massive carpet of millions of logs still floats across the water surface. This giant wooden mat moves dynamically with the wind, shifting from shore to shore like a living entity. Many of these logs have become waterlogged at one end, causing them to float completely vertically, mimicking a submerged ghost army waiting in the dark waters for an ancient command that will never come. Fact 9. The Stone Sentinel of the Gorge. Rising 840 feet above the rushing waters of the Columbia River stands an ancient volcanic plug. Beacon Rock is the second largest freestanding monolith in North America, representing the durable core of an extinct volcano that erupted millions of years ago. Are you brave enough to climb the narrow wooden boardwalk pinned directly to its sheer vertical face? The surrounding softer rock completely washed away during prehistoric floods, leaving this giant dark geological pillar to watch over the massive gorge like an eternal, silent, and imposing sentinel. Fact 8. When trees turn to crystal. In the arid desert of central Washington, a unique sanctuary preserves trees that were turned to solid stone millions of years ago. The ginkgo petrified forest contains a rare hoard of fossilized wood that was buried by intense volcanic flows. Over vast stretches of time, minerals completely replaced the organic wood fibers, transforming ancient ginkgos, elms, and maples into solid crystalline rock. It remains a strange landscape, where wild desert winds blow over a prehistoric forest that was thoroughly cooked by molten rock and frozen in time for all eternity. Fact 7. The hidden volcano. Nobody sees. Deep within the North Cascades, a heavily forested mountain conceals one of the most explosive threats in the region. Glacier Peak is a hidden stratovolcano that remains largely obscured from major cities by surrounding mountain ridges. Unlike the famous peaks, this silent monster has produced some of the most violent eruptions in state history, scattering thick volcanic ash across western North America. It sits quietly today, monitored by sensitive instruments, a stark reminder that the most dangerous volcanic forces are often the ones you cannot easily see from your window. Fact 6. Stonehenge in the American desert. Perched on a barren bluff overlooking the Columbia River, a concrete monument channels ancient British mysteries. The Maryhill Stonehenge is a full-scale, mathematically precise replica of the famous prehistoric monument in England. It was constructed by an eccentric millionaire named Sam Hill to honor soldiers who died in the First World War. Does it strike you as bizarre to find an ancient pagan design standing solitary in a windswept American desert? It stands today as a physical manifestation of grief, permanently etched into the entire arid, rugged Washington landscape. Remember to subscribe if you want to keep discovering facts about your state that are happening right now. Fact 5. When the ocean suffocates itself. The deep fjord-like marine waterway known as Hood Canal harbors a recurring ecological crisis. Because of its specific narrow shape and slow water circulation, the canal frequently develops massive zones of low-dissolved oxygen. When these conditions worsen, thousands of fish, crabs, and octopuses completely flee the suffocating depths, rushing toward the shallow shorelines in a desperate bid to survive. It creates a tragic, silent spectacle along public beaches, where the ocean itself rejects its wild inhabitants because it can no longer provide the deep, vital breath of life. Fact 4. Steam caves at the top of the world. At the freezing summit of Mount Rainier, two massive craters hide an incredible subterranean labyrinth. Heated by volcanic gases, a network of ice caves twists through the summit ice cap, stretching for over 2 miles in length. These are the very highest known steam caves on the entire planet, holding pristine lakes and unique microclimates inside the frozen volcanic peak. Climatologists and volcanologists must brave extreme, dangerous high-altitude storms to study this dark, silent world, where boiling volcanic energy constantly battles the absolute deep freeze of the upper atmosphere. Fact 3. The octopus kingdom beneath the bridge. Deep beneath the Tacoma Narrows Bridge, where fierce tidal currents rip through Puget Sound, resides a massive marine predator. The ruins of the original collapsed bridge, famously known as Galloping Gertie, have created a perfect artificial reef. Inside this twisted tangle of steel and concrete live giant Pacific octopuses, which can reach weights of over 100 pounds. Did you know that these highly intelligent creatures rule this dark, high-velocity corridor? They hunt in total darkness, hiding completely within the historical forgotten wreckage of this broken human engineering. Fact 2. The mud apocalypse. Waiting below. Mount Rainier holds the largest glacial ice system in the lower 48 states, but that ice conceals a devastating threat. If the volcano erupts or suffers a major structural collapse, the heat will instantly melt glaciers, creating colossal mud flows called lahars. These terrifying walls of concrete like mud can travel down river valleys at over 40 miles per hour. Entire communities like Ording sit directly on top of prehistoric lahar deposits, living in the path of a geological monster that will eventually reassert its dominance over the valley floor. Fact 1. The sea's mysterious message in shoes. Since 2007, a bizarre and grisly phenomenon has haunted the coastlines of the Salish Sea. Dozens of detached human feet, still contained inside running shoes, have washed ashore on Washington beaches. Have you ever wondered why the ocean returns only this specific part of the body? Forensic scientists discovered that modern running shoes are made of buoyant materials that float, protecting the foot during decomposition while the rest sinks. The sea is merely sorting its dark secrets by buoyancy, leaving us to ponder the fates of those gone.